The Sea Chest. City lights flicker in the dusk like winking fireflies. I hold my Auntie Meta's papery hand together. We stare at the shiny photo in her lap. Touched so often with hope, the edges curl. My heartbeat rushes in pleasant ways as we watch for the stranger to arrive. While we wait, Auntie Meta remembers her childhood on a rocky Maine island, 80 years ago and more, only child of the lighthouse keeper and his bride. She gazes out the window and as she tells me the story. I was a solitary child, alone on Haley's Head Light for all my first 10 years, with my mama to teach me reading and just my papa to spin stories of the boundless world beyond the rocks of Sanctuary Island. I longed for a time I might not be the only child this cracky island knew. Spring mornings found me scrambling beneath the porch, robbing the birding hens of the tawny eggs. I circled double-yolked days in yellow on the feed calendar above the Devonport supply boat. Days were double blue stars with the promise of news, fellowship, and sugar to sweeten summer tea. The pumpkins burned orange in the only garden plot the rocky island held. First days of home school were boxed in red. But when frost got thick in the winter, I huddled all day by the fire, cloaked in Mama's hand-switched quilts. I left the calendar for warming days and braided solitary stories. One icy night, howling winds blew, towering waves against the shore. My papa worried for all the ships upon the sea, ships in danger of faltering on the rocks and sinking into the stormy deep. And when he spotted such a vessel out beyond his reach, Papa could do no more for the schooner, ship, nor crew that burned the light beyond the freshened lands. In the frozen dark, the wind shrieked as wave upon colossal wave hurled against our rocky shore, tossing up a churning foam that bladdered the parlor windows and trapped the reflection of firelight upon the fragile panes. They rattled and banged until I cried and prayed they'd not crack in two, freeing the waves to wash us out to sea. All the long night, Mama and I curled up against the fearsome storm while Papa made the precious trip to and from the square light tower. We slept not a dream's worth of sleep through all those blustery hours, fretting for the ship we could not see. At dawn, the wind blew itself out, and the storm rolled back across a glassy sea. Papa set off to scout for shore, and I went along as company, hoping for bits of sea glass to fill my window-sill jar. I clung to Papa's hand in the streaky light while we slid down to the farther rocks. As we drew near the shore, we saw a sodden bundle of eider-down mattresses, tied with sailors' knots. It lay heaped upon the rocks, washed up from the schooner. The storm must have swallowed it in the night. Our eyes locked wide when we heard the tiniest cry from deep inside the padding. I guessed a kitten and held the wish close to my heart.
Squatting beside Papa, I plucked and pulled with him at the ragged ends of the icy rope. Our fingers purple without our gloves, our breath painting clouds of white in the morning air. When at last the rope came free, the mattress unfolded to reveal a leather sea chest. Again I heard a mew, and my heart soared with hope, like the gulls reeling overhead, breaking the morning silence in their hunger. Papa lifted a latch and lid, and I curled my fingers tight. The frozen hinges squeaked their resistance and slowly opened wide. We stared down, not a squalling kitten, but into the face of a small stranger, more purple than my fingers, from her crying and the cold. My heart pushed hard against my ribs as Papa lifted the baby, wrapped only in a quilt, into his arms. My breath caught hard when he tucked her inside my coat. My arms enfolded her as I hummed a cradle song. She waved a note tied to her fragile wrist. Papa read the note aloud and shook his head. "To think," he said, "these desperate parents loved their baby so much they were willing to cast her upon the sea." Tears rolled down my frozen cheeks as I nestled her close. There upon the rocks I named her Seaborn, then carried her home to my sister. That sunbright morning, Mama covered Seaborn's head with kisses as we held her by the fire, warming her from without and within.
Through the frosty winter and on it into feathery spring, all right, with purple fetch and yellow buttercup, my sister slept inside the sea chest until at last she grew too big. Then Papa built a trundle all her own to tuck beneath my own tall bed.
I taught her how to gently probe for eggs in the dimness under the porch. We took turns circling double-yolked days and made a game of watching for a supply boat from the gathering deck. When the pumpkins ripened on the vine in summer autumn, we carried them across the island and baked pumpkin pies to Mama.
I taught her reading as she grew, and together we spun stories for the family living safe and sheltered above the Rockies of Santorini Island. I spent my days and all the years of childhood with her, your great-grandmother and my only sister, Seaborn. And when I left our island behind to become a bride, she soon followed me to this green mainland, married, and lived close by until we buried her last spring, leaving me the only child again.
Auntie Maida grows silent, and now I pause to remember my great-grandmother's whispery voice, sharing her stories of two island girls, but my dancing heart can't be still for long. Tripping wildly, it beats out a waiting rhythm behind me. Great-grandmother Seaborn's oldest possession, a cracked and worn sea chest lined with an eider-down quilt, waits open on the table for a tiny stranger my Mama and Papa have gone to fetch from so far across the wide Atlantic to be my sister.